Hey, what's up, guys? What happens when teams lose their most important targets? Sit back, recline, because you are just in time. Cue the intro. All right, guys, welcome to the 2022 fantasy football season. We're going to start things off here early this year. What we're going to do here is go through a list of vacated targets, teams from last year who lost the most amount of targets, and what players that benefits. Studies show that teams with vacated targets, with an abundance of vacated targets, the player who benefits the most is going to be the running back. So we got a couple of sleepers on the list, and we got a couple of players that teams with the highest vacated targets and what players those benefits. So as you can see here, the Chiefs have the most with 345 out of their 636 targets, and then some. Same thing with the Titans, about 336 vacated targets. Ravens up next with about 259. And then the Falcons, the Dirty Birds, with about 238 vacated targets. And then you got the Packers, Aaron Rodgers in the G League. 240 to one of those targets are gone. So he's going to be out there throwing them to a bunch of JV starters from the middle school team. Still might win MVP 3 years in a row. Can't doubt that, man. New York Giants with 220 targets vacated. The Bears and the Rams both have 217. And then the Cardinals, I added those to the list because of their vacated targets. They also will be missing Hopkins for about half the season almost. So that's a team to look into. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to start off with the Chiefs. All right. So some of the key losses are obviously Tyreek Hill, their number one receiver. Got traded to the Dolphins in a blockbuster move. You also lose Byron Pringle, Demarcus Robinson, which very underrated. Darrell Robinson, which some could argue was their starting running back, and Derek McKinnon. And who that benefits. So in my humble opinion, I think that Clyde Edwards-Helaire benefits the most. And I'm going to give you a breakdown as to why. So, in 10 games last year, he had 23 targets, which statted out in a 17-game pace is about 39 targets. We'd like to see that increase a little. But where you're drafting him at about 40 targets is about average. So, let's take out of that 345 vacated targets, let's just give him a small slice of the pie. We're not gonna say he's gonna get all of those targets. We're not even gonna say he's gonna get 100% of those targets. Let's just say that Clyde Edwards gets a 20% increase of targets from that target share. All right, so you're looking at about 69 targets that could possibly be added to his on-game pace of 39 targets. Right, so you're looking at a starting running back who could possibly and very well get over 100 targets, and that's what you want. All right, now you're asking, is that a value? How does that, match up to the competition? So Clyde Edwards is right now going in the fourth round, ADP, average draft position in general. We're still early, but as of right now, he's going around the fourth round. Some of the running backs that are going, back to back or close by, you're looking at Josh Jacobs and Damian Harris. Very possible that Clyde Edwards has a higher ceiling than those guys. You'd like to think that he's in a better offense, better situation. The Raiders just declined Josh Jacobs' fifth-year option. It's a new regime. You really don't know how they're gonna play him with Kenyon Drake. Also drafted a rookie running back. Same thing with the Patriots. I mean, you got Ramondre Stevenson. You got James White coming back, who's going to soak up all the targets. So in the fourth round, depending on what you're drafting at, if you're looking at a couple of different running backs, you could say Clyde Edwards would be your best option. Now, if you look at the Chiefs' standpoint, some of you might say, "Oh, well, they signed Ronald Jones. Okay, well, they gave him about $1.5 million for a 1 year contract, which is also only about $750,000 guaranteed. They're not. Ronald Jones is not the option. Ronald Jones is not the answer. Ronald Jones is a backup. Ronald Jones is a quite possibly a high end handcuff, but he is in no position to challenge Clyde Edwards for the lead role in that offense. So if you're drafting Clyde Edwards in a fourth round, you're drafting a running back three, RB3, with a 100 target ceiling on top of the rushing upside. It's his backfield, and he's been disappointing up until the year. Um, some might say. So what you want to see is you want volume. You want guaranteed volume in those higher rounds. You can't. You're not gonna win your championship in the draft, but you can definitely lose it. You have to hit on those high picks, right? So what you're looking for is running backs with a high ceiling. All right, let's continue. Titans. Some of their key losses. You got AJ Brown, who went to the Eagles. You got Anthony Fursker. You got Julio Jones, and you got Chester Rogers. Not really household names, but if you wouldn't believe it, these are the players who have taken up majority of those targets that are lost in the season. All right, so why does it benefit Derrick Henry? Now you could say, well, he's already a top four back. I mean, what? How much better can he be? Okay, well, let's look at the stats. In the 8 games he played last year, he required about 20 targets, right? So in a 17-game pace, you're looking at about 42 targets. Now, let's not forget, before the injury, Derrick Henry was leading the NFL in rushing and was on pace to a second 2,000-yard season. All right? So you're talking about a running back who high odds to lead the league in rushing with a 400 touch floor. And you might wonder why that is. Well, he's going to carry the ball at the very least 300 to 350 times. Right? He's going to accumulate so many targets. So if he was on pace for about 40 targets last year, once again, let's do the math. If you give him a 20% target increase from the 336 that's left, you're looking at about 65 to 67 targets, right? So once again, we're talking about a running back with a high ceiling, high rushing floor, and could possibly now, we're not going to say Derrick Henry's going to get 100 targets, but if he gets 50 to 60 on the back of a 2,000-yard season, very well could be number one running back in the NFL for fantasy football purposes. They also didn't add any players that could really, get that wide receiver one target share. They added a rookie as a number one receiver. Robert Woods is coming off the injury. The Tennessee offense is going to run through Derrick Henry. And as much as some people could say, well, they're going to stack the box and, game plans are going to be to stop Derrick Henry, let me tell you something. The game plan has always been to stop Derrick Henry, and they have yet to done it. Now, you can say, well, he did have an injury last year. Some of you guys might have forgot. He did come back at the end of the year last year. And he only played 1 game, and he didn't look his best. But he does have a full offseason to recover, and the fact that he was able to come back and play says a lot. You should not be worried about his injury history. All right, so you're looking at top 4 back with a 400 touch floor and could possibly lead the league in rushing. I mean, that's what else more could you ask for? All right, let's look at the Russian Ravens, right? So their key losses. So you got Hollywood Brown, who got traded to the Arizona Cardinals. You got Sammy Watkins, who is a Week 1 Hall of Fame fantasy football player. People might have forgotten, even played for the team, but they did have a high, target total for the team, who are already pretty, low on targets to begin with. Mark Andrews is definitely number 1 in the offense, especially now that they have no one receiver. One, you could say Rashad Bateman, but he has yet to prove anything. So, why does this benefit J.K. Dobbins? So he actually, obviously didn't play last year. He was hurt, but in his rookie year, he played 15 out of the 16 games. He got 24 targets, in the 15 games. So, stat it off a 17 game pace, he's looking at about 27 targets, which is, not a lot for a lot of people. But once again, he does have a rushing floor. So let's take 20% of the targets that's vacated. You're looking at about 200 out of the 260 targets that was vacated, he's getting about 50 targets added onto his total. Once again, 27 game pace. Let's say you add on another 50 targets. You're looking at about 60 to 70 targets on top of probably going to be the league's you know league's lead the league's leading team in rushing. And you can say, well, what is his value? Where's he going around? So right now, J.K. Dobbins is going around the third round. So some of the running backs around him, you're looking at Elijah Mitchell, who, once again, the 49ers drafted a running back. He's on his rookie deal. He doesn't have a lot of guaranteed money. They're not tied to Elijah Mitchell. We see in this offense, any running back can flourish. It's the offense itself. You can't necessarily say it's the running back, because multiple running backs have been in this offense and have succeeded. They still have Jeff Wilson. Still got a lot of players that's going to grab touches away from Elijah Mitchell. And then you got Zeke, who he's one might argue he's on a downhill. Has a lot of players around him that you can say is going to steal away touches. So in the third round, the running back that I'm probably reaching for or looking for is J.K. Dobbins. So let's do some simple math, right? So you're looking at about possibly a 50 target floor, which also rookie year he got about 130 rushing attempts, 9 touchdowns. He was averaging 6 yards a carry as a rookie, right? The reason why I put key losses on here for Devontae Freeman and Latavius Murray, even though they didn't have a high receiving total, you're looking at about 250 attempts just gone, right? So they're no longer on the team. So let's give J.K. Dobbins roughly 215 attempts, and let's bump his total down to about 5 yards a carry. 6 yards a carry is pretty high. I do think he's very efficient, but let's just see what we can do. Let's not we don't want to reach for the stars and say he's going to get 6 yards a carry. 5 yards attempt, still pretty good. So at 215 carries, 5 yards attempt, you're looking at over 1,000 yards with a 50 target floor. Once again, the third round, you're looking at, possibly your second running back, maybe your third running back. He has a high floor and a high ceiling. Dirty Birds. Dirty Birds. So some of the key losses on the Falcons. So let's not forget Calvin Ridley suspended. Russell Gage, their second leading receiver. Tajay Sharp. Mike Davis is no longer with the team. And you also lose Hayden Hurst, who is playing behind Kyle Pitts. Now, once again, the Falcons have very few, players who are going to make a difference on the offense. Kyle Pitts is one of them. So is Cordell Patterson. Cordell Patterson had, a career year last year, and he's got paid for it. He signed a contract in the offseason for $10.5 million guaranteed. He had his choices of teams he could have went to. He came back to Atlanta, and you have to think that Atlanta agreed that he's going to be a heavy focal point in the offense, and that's to why he came back. So last year he got about 69 targets in 16 games. You stat that out to a 17-game pace. You're talking about 73 targets. Out of the 238 targets that were vacated, you take about 20% of that, you're looking at about 47 extra targets. So once again, right over that 100 target floor. That's, if you haven't noticed by now, that's kind of what you want. Now, it's very hard to obtain as a running back, but you want the possibility. You don't want to pick somebody who has no possibility of even getting that. Same thing as the Titans. The Falcons has, a rookie wide receiver as their number one, and they didn't really add any weapons. What, you added Damian Williams? That's not really going to do much for you. Um, you're also looking at Marcus Mariota as your starting quarterback. You got to think that Ritter takes over at some point in the season. I mean, it's a possibility he could take over at some point during the offseason. They said Mac Jones was going to take over halfway through the season, and he ended up beating up Cam Newton just to start the season. So you never really know. But with a rookie quarterback, his best friend is going to be his tight ends, big bodies, and his check down. So once again, I mean, you could have Cordell Patterson with a 100 target floor, who also has that rushing upside too, right? All right, let's go to the Packers. This is pretty much one of the easiest ones. I mean, your key losses is the number one receiver in the league, Devontae Adams, and Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Um, I mean, who do you think that benefits? Everyone knows it's going to be Aaron Jones. He had a good season last year. Well, he had a decent season last year compared to his averages. So, I mean, he had about 65 targets in 15 games and a 17-game pace. He's averaging about 73 games. I'm sorry. And in a 17-game pace, yeah, would you get about 73 targets? Take about 20% of the 241 targets that was vacated last year. You add almost 50 more targets. So, once again, Aaron Jones is going to get so much volume, it's going to be crazy. And where he's going to land out in drafts is just amazing to me. You talking about right now, once again, it's still early, but he's being drafted as the 15th running back off the board, which has to be his absolute floor. Um, I'm willing to bet any amount of money in the world, aside from injury, Aaron Jones does not finish anywhere near 15th. At the very lowest, he finishes a top 10 back. So right now, what you're getting him at in drafts is a value. So, once again, last year was a down year, but over the last 3 years, Aaron Jones is averaging 71 targets, over 200 attempts, and this year it's only can go up, right? So he's guaranteed almost 300 touches in this offense. Is there going to be high quality touches also? Aaron Rodgers is going to just pepper him with targets. He's one of the only players in the offense that they actually trust. And you know how much, how far trust goes along for Aaron Rodgers. So Aaron Jones is definitely one of the players that's going to benefit, and he has to be on your draft board if he continues to slide. If he's going anywhere near the 15th running back come draft season, you snag him up 100 times out of 100. All right, let's go with the G-Man. Now, a lot of people, they're going to say, well, drafting anybody from the Giants is going to ruin your chances of winning. But I'm here to differ. Beg to differ. Some of their key losses: Evan Ingram, Devontae Booker, Elijah Penny, John Ross. You talking about a couple of speedsters and the guys who clearly took away volume from the one who benefits, Saquon Barkley. Now, Saquon Barkley came into the league as one of the highest touted prospects in NFL history. Don't really think he's lived up to the hype. His first couple of years in the league, he did really good. He's been injured ever since. But aside from injury, which is going to, have him really down on your people's draft boards, I think you might get a stud. A sleeper stud for you. All right, so last year, in a down year, he got about 57 targets in 13 games. So pace that out in a 17-game pace is about 74 targets, which in a down year, 74 targets for your running back is excellent. So let's say you take about 20% targets from the vacated targets. You're looking at about 44 extra targets, which once again, you want that 100-target floor. Right now, Saquon's being drafted in the 4th round as the 18th running back off the board. Once again, I mean, do I want Saquon Barkley as my number 1 running back? Probably not. But if I can grab 2 running backs, a star receiver, and have him as, possibly a flex, I mean, I would take that 9 times out of 10. So last year, once again, in a down year, he finishes the running back 30th, behind Myles Gaskins, and Michael Carter from the Jets. Now, I think we can all agree that Saquon Barkley is 10 times better than Myles Gaskin and Michael Carter. He's not even in the same tier. He's way past these guys. Now, once again, he's being drafted as the 18th running back this year. So, if he finishes as an RB30 again, it'll be a huge disappointment. You can say that a lot of that goes from injury. He did miss a few games, and even when he did play, he was hobbled. The Giants did, address the offensive line in the draft and free agency, so you have to think that the offensive line is going to be a little bit better. And the Giants did pick up Saquon's fifth-year option, which means they chose to pay him for another year, which means they choose that, they believe in Saquon and they want to see what they have in their star running back. So this is a make-or-break year for Saquon, and I think the regime thinks that it's a make-or-break year for him. So they're going to see what they have, which means they're going to run him into the dirt and pepper him with targets. Once again, as an RB3, I think he's a great option. So, Super Bowl Rams, right? Now, they won the Super Bowl last year, so how much better could they be? Now, you do lose Sony Michel, Robert Woods, who some might say, was the heart and soul of that team. OBJ, Gerald Everett, some key players. They still have, obviously, you're still going to have Cooper Kupp. You still have, Tyler Higbee, but you did lose some key players. So, last year, obviously, Cam Akers tore his ACL and didn't play. So, we're going to go with the stats of the running backs that did play and how much better could Cam Akers would have been. So, last year, combined between the starting running backs, which was basically Sony Michel and Darrell Henderson for most of the year, the Rams received 73 targets and a little over 350 attempts. Now, and that's with Cooper Kupp getting over 190 targets. Now, I don't think that Cooper Kupp is going to get 190 targets this year. Do I think he's still going to be the focal point? Yes. Do I think he's going to get, maybe 150 targets? Yes. But almost 200 targets is really hard to do, multiple years in a row. So let's say you get 20% of the vacated targets, which is about 217 targets. You're looking at about 43 targets up for grabs on top of, you can say the 70 they got last year with 350 attempts. Right now, Cam Akers is a value in the 6th round, right? So you're for some people, you're drafting Cam Akers as a bench player. You're not even drafting him as a starter. If you take, let's say you take, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a flex, and then you take Cam Akers. If you got a starting caliber running back on one of the top 3 offenses in the league, sitting on your bench possibly, what more can you ask for? Right now he's going around Michael Carter, who the Jets just drafted, Bryce Hall. And then you got Miles Sanders, who, yes, he's the number 1 in a, run-heavy offense, but they're not in the league of the Rams. They're not going to be put in scoring opportunities that often. They're not going to be, put in the red zone as often as the Rams. So in the 6th round, if you're looking at guys like Michael Carter and Miles Sanders, you better make sure you take Cam Akers. Once again, you're looking at a starting running back in a top 3 offense. He is their red zone option. Sony was that guy. They don't trust Darrell Henderson. People forget that Cam Akers got hurt in the offseason last year. They went and got Sony Michel, and everyone's saying, oh, he's just a backup. It's Darrell Henderson's team. It's supposed to have been Darrell Henderson's team the last couple of years, and Sony Michel took the offensive job from him midway through the season. They do not trust Henderson, and they gave Sony Michel the red zone work. Cam Akers will get that red zone work. So yeah, guys, I want to, just have a little video, and we're going to continue this ride into the off season. Good luck to everyone starting their fantasy leagues. It's better starting early than starting late. Keep it going. Well,